Most people live their entire lives inside invisible walls. They wake up, go to work, complain about their situation, and repeat the cycle year after year. They call it life. They call it normal. But normal is nothing more than a mass-produced illusion. A story told to the masses by the few who chose not to live in it. Failure doesn't come crashing in one day like a wrecking ball. No, it arrives quietly, gradually, silently slipping through the cracks of wasted mornings, delayed dreams, ignored instincts, and beliefs borrowed from the blind. Most people fail because they've been trained to think like everyone else. And when you think like everyone else, you get results like everyone else. Here's the truth that should shake you. Most people were educated into limitation, taught to sit still, follow orders, stay safe, and suppress the spark that once made them dream wildly. They were raised in systems built for obedience, not greatness. And that's where the failure begins, in the mind. Henry Ford once said, "Thinking is the hardest work there is," which is probably the reason so few engage in it. But it's deeper than thinking. It's the quality of your thoughts. It's not about how busy your mind is. It's about what your mind is busy doing. Most minds are trapped in loops of scarcity, loops of doubt, loops of I can't and what if it doesn't work? They've been hypnotized by the past, by the voices of parents, teachers, friends who never broke free themselves. But here's what the 1% do differently. They don't accept thoughts by default. They design them with intent. They don't wait for motivation. They create movement through vision. They don't follow the crowd. They watch the crowd and then walk in the opposite direction. They understand that mindset is not a motivational buzzword. It's the operating system that governs every action, every decision, every outcome. And if your operating system is built on fear, you will sabotage opportunities. If it's built on insecurity, you will underprice your worth. If it's built on limitation, you will see walls where there were only doors. Now let's talk about belief. Belief is the root of all results, not effort, not talent, belief. Because belief is what gives life to effort and fuels talent. Napoleon Hill spent 25 years interviewing the wealthiest, most successful minds of his time. Carnegie, Edison, Rockefeller. And do you know what he found? They all believed, with absolute certainty, in their ability to create results before the results ever showed up. You see, the 1% don't wait to believe after they win. They believe so deeply they act like winners long before the world sees it. Most people won't take the first step because they don't yet see the staircase. But the 1%, they walk with faith. They move with intention. They build the staircase with every step they take. And that's where clarity enters. Clarity isn't something you stumble upon. It's something you create. It comes from movement, not meditation. From decision, not delay. Most people live in a fog of, I don't know what I want. But the truth is, they've never slowed down long enough to ask. Because asking that question terrifies them. Because if you know what you want and still don't chase it, you can't hide anymore. You can't pretend the system is to blame. But the 1%, they get painfully honest. They stare into the mirror and ask, what kind of life would set my soul on fire? And when they find that answer, they become dangerous. Because nothing and no one can distract a human being who knows exactly what they're building. They don't get lost scrolling the lives of others because they're too busy constructing their own. They don't seek approval because their direction is internal. Vision is the tool they use to carve reality. Most people are realists. The 1% are visionaries. The average person says, "I'll believe it when I see it." The 1% say, "I'll see it because I believe it." Walt Disney was laughed out of rooms. Edison failed over 1,000 times. Lincoln lost more elections than most people will ever enter. But every single one of them had a vision that lived beyond failure. They didn't look at what was. They looked at what could be. They closed their eyes and saw the invisible until it became inevitable. And here's the key: vision isn't fantasy. It's the seed of fact. Everything you see, the chair you're sitting in, the phone in your hand, the buildings, the music, the businesses, all of it began as a thought. The 11% understand this, and they protect their vision like sacred fire. They feed it with repetition. They nurture it with images, sounds, affirmations, because they know that the subconscious doesn't speak in logic. It speaks in emotion, in symbols, in repetition. Discipline is the armor they wear through the chaos. You want to know why most people fail? Because they wait to feel like it. But feelings are fickle, temporary, unreliable. The 1% don't chase motivation. They train themselves to move without it. They build habits that operate like gravity. Systems that don't rely on how the day feels, but on who they've chosen to become. Discipline is freedom in disguise. The average person thinks freedom means doing what you want. But real freedom is becoming who you want. And that requires structure. The percent don't fear repetition. They leverage it. They wake up early when no one sees. They study when others sleep. They show up when no one claps, because they are driven by something deeper than applause alignment. They understand that success isn't loud. It's quiet consistency. It's tiny victories stacked daily until they compound into something unstoppable. Most people chase success like it's an event, like one big moment will change everything. But the 1%, they understand it's not about the moment, it's about momentum. And momentum is built through action, relentless, purposeful action. Not random effort, not frantic business, but focused execution. While most people overthink, the 1% move. While most debate whether the idea is perfect, they launch the version they have. While most wait for clarity, they create clarity through action, because action changes identity. Every step you take toward a dream, no matter how small, whispers to your subconscious, "I am this kind of person now." Most people are trying to change their lives without changing themselves. They want a new reality with the same old habits. They want new outcomes with the same excuses. But the 1% don't just act differently, they become different. They move from being thinkers to doers, from talkers to builders. They understand the law of cause and effect, the ancient principle echoed by Proctor, Hill, and every master, whoever living what you sow, you reap. What you give, you get. What you do, you become. And they don't wait for the world to go first. They go first. Because they know the world reflects the energy they radiate. But here's a truth that will change your life. You cannot act like the person you are now and expect to create a future you've never lived. That's why the 1% begin with identity. They ask, who must I become to deserve the life I want? And then they align everything. Thoughts, language, routines, relationships to match that future self. Most people let their environment shape them. The 1% shape their environment. They are not reactors. They are creators. They don't wait to feel worthy. They act as if they already are. They don't seek permission. They give it to themselves. They don't pray for the path to be easy. They pray for the strength to walk it anyway. And then they take that strength and they amplify it through gratitude. Because here's the paradox. Most people think gratitude is for what they already have. The 1% use gratitude for what they intend to have. They are grateful for the goal before it manifests. Grateful for the opportunity while still facing resistance. Grateful for the growth, even in the grind, because gratitude is magnetic. It tells your subconscious, I already have this. And when your mind believes it, your reality begins to reflect it. The world doesn't respond to desperation, it responds to certainty. And gratitude is the sound of certainty. It's the signal that says, trust the process. I honor the journey. I know who I'm becoming, but life will still test you. There will be detours, delays, disappointments that threaten to crush your spirit. And this is where most people fail, not because they didn't start, but because they didn't keep going. They mistook rejection as a sign to stop. But the 1%, they see it as a sign to rise, because they are built on resilience, forged in adversity. They don't curse the storm. They become the storm. Every failure sharpens them. Every setback trains them. Every rejection is just redirection, a divine recalibration. Thomas Edison didn't fail 1,000 times. He discovered 1,000 ways not to quit. Colonel Sanders was rejected over 1,000 times before someone said yes. Oprah was told she was unfit for television. Disney was told he lacked imagination. The difference isn't the obstacle, it's the response. The percent treat adversity like a gym. Each challenge builds mental muscle. They don't avoid pain, they use it. They convert pain into purpose, loss into lessons, doubt into determination. Because deep down, they understand the game isn't about never falling. It's about never staying down. And do you want to know the secret most people never hear? Resilience is not something you're born with. It's something you practice daily, deliberately, devoutly. You develop it by choosing growth over comfort, over and over and over again. But here's the final shift, the 1%, that changes everything, short life. They become lifelong learners. They are obsessed with expansion. They know that the mind, like the body, grows stronger with resistance. They are humble enough to know they don't know it all, but powerful enough to keep seeking until they do. Most people read once and stop. The 1% read until it becomes DNA. They don't dabble, they devour. They don't just hear principles, they live them. They study the greats Proctor, Hill, Carnegie, Jobs, Mandela, Angelou. They know success leaves clues, and they are hunters of wisdom. Because they understand something vital. You do not rise to the level of your ambition. You fall to the level of your preparation. And so they prepare and prepare until the moment comes and they are ready. And when that moment comes, the moment that most people pray for, wish for, fantasize about, the 1% don't flinch. They don't hesitate. They've already lived it in their mind. They've already bled for it in silence. They've already endured the loneliness, the ridicule, the doubt. When the door cracks open, they don't knock, they walk through it like it was built for them, because it was. They designed it. Every day they rose while others slept. Every sacrifice, every ignored distraction, every chapter read, every dollar reinvested. Every time they kept going when quitting felt easier, but it was all part of the build. And now, it's real. See, 1% don't hope to win. They expect to. Because their mindset was never about if, it was always about when. They know the world rewards the brave, the disciplined, the obsessed, the unreasonable, The ones who dare to say, I will not live a life that is less than what I know I am capable of. They are not lucky. They are not chosen. They are not special. They are simply willing to do what most are not. They are willing to pay the price now so they can live with freedom later. That's the price of greatness. And it is steep. It demands your time, your focus, your discomfort, your former self. But in returning, it gives you your life back. Not a life handed to you, a life built by you, a life by design, a life that breathes purpose, a life that echoes beyond your name. Because that's what this is really about. Not just success, not just escape. It's about becoming the person you were born to be before the world told you to settle. It's about waking up and saying, I did not come here to survive. I came here to lead, to grow, to master this game from the inside out, to become the 1%. Not for the title, but for the transformation. Because in the end, that's what separates the few from the many. Just results, not just resumes, but the radical rebirth of self. That's the truth. Most people failed because they never rise to meet who they really are. The 1% succeed because they never stop reaching for that version. Now it's your move. Will you wait for the world to hand you a life it never promised? Or will you step up and take the pen? Because your future is not written in stone. It's waiting on your decision. And your decision is waiting on you. So decide now, not tomorrow, not someday. Because someday is where most people bury their dreams. But today is where the 1% are made. Get up, get clear, get serious, and build the life no one will believe until you make it real.